Apple says that M5 Max is their best laptop. And here's the thing, this is where most people are getting it wrong. I've got the M5 Pro and M5 Max and I've tested them both. And if you're thinking about picking one of these up, there's something you should know. Should you spend the extra $1,400 on the Max version or should you go with the Pro version? And I think most people are gonna get it wrong. I don't know about you, but I hate paying for cloud subscriptions. Especially if you're an Apple user, I'm sure you can relate to the expensive storage. If you're a creator, you already know how your workflow demands more and more storage. And that's why 5 years ago I created my own cloud, and it has never failed me once. I have been using Asus Locustor 4 and 6 and this is what we use daily. All of the 7 years of YouTube business are living on these NAS drives. It turned out not to be just cheaper than cloud storage, but also so many more features, faster, and so much more storage. Whether you're looking to store your precious memories, important documents, your video or photo creative projects, back up your phone regularly overnight while you're sleeping, having a NAS drive that you can access locally and anywhere around the world has been a game changer for me. Depending on your needs, if you want to get started, I would highly recommend the newest version of this NAS, like the Locustor 4 Gen 2 Plus, which now features dual 5GB Ethernet ports. If you've got bigger needs, then the Locustor 6 Gen 2 Plus or higher. The bigger the number, the more drive bays. If you need a super fast flash NAS to have the best performance, then check out the FlashStore Gen 2 series with up to dual 10GB Ethernet and Ryzen CPUs. There is not a product that I find easier to recommend because it's not just something I am using, but something that has not failed me once in the past 5 years. Check out Asus NAS and drives in the video description below. Here's the thing, these two are the 14-inch base versions of the Max and Pro. These are not the full chips because if you upgrade them, you can get a little bit more out of the M5 Max and Pro. And if you'd like to see that, I'm still running them through the paces behind the scenes. So stick around, hit that subscribe button, that is your friend. By the way, if you're not following us on Instagram yet, hit that follow over there as well. We're gonna post some more short form and behind the scenes content. I encourage you to do so. Firstly, let's talk about the power consumption because that affects almost the rest of the test. Let me show you. M5 Max on this side, M5 Pro on this side, and we're gonna press go on the multiple threads on CPU. Now, what we can see is M5 Pro goes up to about 65 watts, M5 Max goes to 85 watts. The other thing we wanna check on is the temperature. M5 Pro 90, interestingly, M5 Pro is at the moment hotter than the M5 Max. Both of them are on automatic power modes. And what you can see over here is M5 Pro drops down a little bit less than M5 Max. M5 Max boosts to about 80 watts there and then comes down to around 60. And then as you can see now, they're both kind of lying around the 50 watt mark. So the M5 Pro and M5 Max are pulling about the same wattage on the CPU. Now, after a little while, we can see that the M5 Max is running about 90 degrees over there, whereas the M5 Pro is about 87 degrees, a little bit lower, probably due to slightly less wattage, but not so much, around the same wattage on both of them, but the M5 Max is running hotter. See, on the secondary run now here, you can see that the M5 Max is not boosting to 80 watts anymore because it is already too hot, which means it's thermally throttling. It's not going all the way to that high place. It just goes slightly lower, as you can see there. Now, pulling up the actual fan measurement, we can see that both of the fans are pulling the same kind of speed. They're going 5,300, something like that. And it is on M5 Pro slightly interestingly higher than the M5 Max. Looks like the M5 Max is throttling it a lot more. I'm gonna change the power setting to high power. Let me see if the fan speeds change now. Yeah, you can see that the fan speeds are now ramping up, which instantly shows that the wattage goes higher. What this shows us is that the maximum performance is not reached on automatic settings, but high power settings. Both of these Macs are going a lot hotter now, or the fans are at least going a lot louder. But regardless of the fan speed, the M5 Max seems to be throttling quite a bit more. Now look at that. Interestingly, the M5 Pro is pulling 45 watts, whereas the M5 Max is pulling 35 watts. Now the M5 Pro is pulling more watts and higher clock speeds than the M5 Max. The interesting thing is, let's take a look at the results. If that actually shows us that the M5 Max is throttling on this chassis. Even though the M5 Max is a lot lower in temperature, there's more thermal headroom than on the M5 Pro, the M5 Max seems to be pulling less watts. Okay, M5 Max is already done. M5 Pro is still finishing this off, which makes me think that the M5 Pro will get a lower score. We can see how the M5 Max is already cooling down on this side and the fan speed's going down. So the M5 Pro now finished as well. And let's take a look at the scores. We can see that we got 7,000 points roughly on the M5 Max and 6,400 on the M5 Pro. That is a very interesting test. So what we just saw is that the M5 Max is actually pulling less watts than the M5 Pro on most of the time, which tells us that the battery life on the M5 Pro is gonna be worse than on the M5 Max, because if you need the work done, the M5 Max is already done, whereas the M5 Pro is still trying to do that. Regardless of doing higher clock speeds and higher wattage, you'd think that you'd get better performance, but having more cores at less of a wattage and less or lower clock speed makes a difference. Regardless, the M5 Max is still massively throttling on the 14-inch. If you want to see the full story, check it out already. I've already filmed that actually. I did not expect that, and I think this actually proves my conclusion that most people are going to be wrong about which one to get. Now, let's take a look at the Cinebench R26 cores if I tested them separately on a single run where thermal throttling really wasn't an issue. I can see that the M5 Max 14-inch is exactly the same on the single core scores. So whether you get the Pro or the Max, the laptop's going to kind of feel exactly the same snappiness. But if we move on to multi-core scores, I can see that the 14-inch M5 Max is about 13% faster in multi-core performance. And that's exactly what we just saw also on the temperature test. Moving on to Geekbench 6, and here we see a similar thing. The single core score is with 1%. The M5 Max seems to be slightly faster, but not really that big of a difference. The multi-core score there is about 12% faster on the M5 Max. I've also included M4 Pro and M4 Max in some of these benchmarks, just so you'll have a little bit of a comparison from the last generation if you want to check that out. Now, interestingly, looking at the M4 Max from previous generation, the Geekbench is better on the M5 Pro. The M4 Max is about 6.6% slower in the multi-core score and about 1% slower in the multi-core score. So the 15 cores, new core, super, and performance cores actually are better than the previous performance and efficiency cores. Moving on to GPU, and this is where Apple put a lot of emphasis. What about the Max and Pro? We can see that the M5 Max is 63% faster in OpenCL and 56% faster on the metal scores. That shows that the GPU performance is a huge difference. But bear in mind, neither one of these is the full GPU performance. You can actually upgrade to the higher one as well. The 32 core versus 40 core and so on. Interestingly, the M4 Pro here is about 20% slower than the M5 Pro, and the M4 Max is quite a bit faster than the M5 Pro base model. Remember, both of the M5 Max and Pro here are the base models, not fully binned versions. Looking at the AI performance, and that's where Apple said the neural engines really help on the GPU, because each GPU core has a dedicated neural engine kind of attached to its core. And this is the Geekbench 6 AI benchmark for the GPU, and we can see that the M5 Max is quite a bit faster, about 20 to 36% faster, which is quite insane. But what about actual benchmarks? I love the Geekbench because that actually tests this in a real workflow, not just looking one side by side and saying, okay, this feels faster, or me just testing this on my phone. I think this is a much more accurate result here, testing each side by side. And I can see that the M5 Max is about 10% faster in Photoshop, which is considerable gain comparing to something that we see on PC. Going from Core Ultra 7 to 9, we're probably not going to see that big of a difference. Or from Ryzen 7 to Ryzen 9, probably not going to see that big of a difference either. But between these two, there is about 10%. The filter score is 15% roughly different. That's quite huge. The M4 Pro is 10% slower and M4 Max is about 3% faster. But if you look at the generational performance increase, that's quite incredible. We're getting 10% increase from previous generation in the actual application, not just CPU performance, in the actual application. That is huge. Moving on to Lightroom Classic, and interestingly, there's quite a big difference in here. The M5 Pro in no means is slow whatsoever, but the M5 Max is 25% faster in the standard overall scores and 13.9% faster in the extended overall scores. That is a bigger difference than what we saw in the pure CPU or GPU performance. This is huge on the M5 Max. It is quite a bit faster for Lightroom Classic. The M4 Max is actually faster than the M5 Pro, about 5% faster in the standard overall and about the same in the extended overall, which is very, very interesting. So not all applications are the same. Even photo editing, whether you're in Photoshop or Lightroom Classic, is actually different performance. Moving on to video editing, and here we can see that the M5 Max is 27 to 31% faster than the M5 Pro. That's just insane. Probably because of the GPU, but also some of the things inside the GPU that make the video editing faster. I'm not exactly sure about the media engines. Apple's a little bit vague about them compared to these two, but I can see that the M5 Max just seems quite a bit faster. Look at the long GOP scores, 30.9% faster. The GPU scores 46% faster, GPU-FX standard 55% faster. That's ridiculous. The M5 Max is quite a bit more or better than the M5 Pro. But M4 Max is very, very close to the M5 Max. There's not that big of a difference. About 21 to 23% faster than the M5 Pro. Just bear that in mind. Moving on to After Effects, and we can see that the M5 Max is slightly faster, 4 to 11%, which is fine. Interestingly, some of the tracking, like extended tracking score, is actually slower than the M5 Max, which is a little bit puzzling. The M4 Max here is quite a bit better than both of them, which shows me that there's not full utilization of the GPUs really happening, or the new super and performance cores happening on After Effects. So if you think you're gonna get super performance on After Effects when moving on to the M5 Max, probably not yet, I would say. As you can see, M4 Max is still considerably faster than the M5 Max and M5 Pro. Moving on to DaVinci Resolve, which is very much utilized and optimized for these Apple Silicons, and we can see that the M5 Max is 21 to 40.5% faster in the overall scores. The extended overall score is 40.6% faster. That's crazy. The GPU-FX standard score is 63% faster on the M5 Max, and the AI score is 72% faster on the M5 Max compared to the Pro chip. That is a huge difference. Compared to M4 Pro to M5 Pro, we're getting 22 roughly % increase in performance, and the M4 Max is up to 22% faster in those overall scores compared to the M5 Pro. So in DaVinci Resolve, between Pro and Max, there is a jump in difference. It's like different generation leap difference. Moving also on to 3D rendering, which we can test in Redshift, which is Cinebench R26. Interestingly, Blender and some of the other 3D applications might put a little bit of a fit on for you because of the new GPU cores and CPU layout. It'll be optimized very, very soon. And if you actually open the Blender application, it should work fine if you render in there. But in the benchmark, and that's how I've been using the open benchmark, I'm not actually seeing the M5 devices actually open or give me any scores. There's just some kind of error. Even trying in Blender 5.0, not a difference. But in Redshift, we can see that the M5 Max is 70% faster in the GPU cores. And that is not even the upgraded 40-core GPU on the M5 Max, which is quite a big difference. And the M4 Max is about 73% faster than the M5 Pro. And if you look very closely, the 40-core M4 Max is slightly faster than the 32-core M5 Max. So interesting thing happening there on the GPU. Now then, the performance was a bit of a roller coaster between all of these two, but pricing wise, this maybe helps us to decide whether we should go with the Pro or Max. Whichever one you decide to pick up, don't buy them from Apple's website, because through my links in the description below, you can already get it cheaper than what Apple is offering for you. So if you don't like paying full price, check out those links in the video description below. You'll see. Now, from Pro to Max, there is a $1,400 price hike. That is 63% increase from Pro to Max. Is it actually worth it? Not really. And here's the thing, I don't think most people should buy the 14-inch M5 Max anyway. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out the 14 versus 16-inch comparison video I did, and then you'll understand why. I'm yet still to find out the fully binned versions of both of them and see where this is, so stick around for that video. But we discovered something very, very interesting here. Depending on your application, there is a huge difference between the Pro and Max. A lot of people are going with the 14-inch Max chip because it's just small and they feel that they're getting so much more performance. In some ways, yes, compared to the Pro, but that's where they get it wrong. Go check out the 14 versus 16-inch, because you see that just the chassis is actually throttling the device, or is a limitation of the device. You can't get the same performance on the 14-inch as on the 16-inch, but at the same time, if you want 14-inch performance, there is a huge difference between these two. Any GPU related applications, you'll see a huge difference. I would say if you're editing in DaVinci Resolve, maybe Premiere Pro, maybe After Effects, the Max really makes a difference. The best bang for buck still relies on the Pro. But is it the base Pro or upgraded Pro? We'll have to see in the next video. Congratulations! If you've reached this part of the video, you're in the top 13% of people's attention graph. And there's more than 50% chance that you seeing this means you're not subscribed. So consider subscribing, hitting that bell icon, liking the video. It would mean a world to us. If you'd like to get detailed access to our internal benchmark database of CPUs, GPUs, SSDs, and so on for creators, then may I invite you to sign up to our newsletter, where we send out relevant information a couple of times a month when there is information. I'm not interested in flooding your inbox. This is when there is good information to share for your creative workflow. Then we'll send those emails out. And also you'll get the most exclusive access to some of the behind the scenes, perhaps even giveaways. So scan that QR code or link in the description below. If you've got any urgent questions to me personally, you can always reach out on Minect. I'll always get back to my messages. If you're looking for a new hoodie, may I recommend this one. This is not just any cheap random hoodie. This is a high quality hoodie that you can get. And when purchasing this, we get a small little kickback to help us build what we're building here. My passion is to help creators choose the best tech for their workflow and help them save some money in the process. This is Tech Notice, and if you've reached this part of the video, you have been upgraded to the top 5% of the people who ever see this part. And now YouTube thinks that you'll like this video, and if you haven't subscribed, you can do it on this side. Thanks very much, guys, for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.